Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, welcome to the Beacon TVL show as I am late putting in my ears. This is your weekly source for all kinds of good takes and analysis with regards to the on chain, blockchain, crypto, DeFi space. I'm your host, Chris, the DeFi Professor. And yeah, we've got a great show lined up for you today. Actually, we unfortunately don't have anyone on panel this week. Had some kind of things come up. Actually, I wasn't actually even going to do the show today, to be quite honest, because we've got some things going on behind the scenes here with the family, and we were actually, unfortunately, today was supposed to be the day that we possibly were going to put down our beloved oldest cat, but that plan changed. So uh, that's why we're doing the show today. So as a last minute thing, unable to get a huge panel together. So that'll definitely happen next week. Got a lot of people in the pipe who definitely want to come on the show. So yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about. So let's kind of get into some of those things. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that I am live here on Tweeters, which I believe that I am. So let's go ahead and get that out to our friendly folks at Farcaster. Okay. And so we've got a really great show for you out here today. What we'll do is we'll talk about the market really quickly, mainly because that's the biggest thing that's the biggest part of what's going on this week. With the war happening, or if you want to call it a special combat operation of what's going on in Iran, uh, it's just kind of one of those interesting things this week, right, guys? So uh, let's just look at the markets, because what I did want to point out here is essentially that the market has rebounded, and there's a lot of things going on with this specific market, because it's a very interesting one with a lot of moving pieces, right? And we don't have to go completely into everything that's been going on. We'll go into the bids in just a second, but right now there's a lot of things going on. Apparently there's a lot of people in Iran buying Bitcoin or ETH and then sending it out to cold storage, especially in the country of Iran. Novatex, which is their largest crypto exchange, which actually got cyber attacked like 8 months ago, uh, causing a big issue. They saw extreme outflows over the last 3 to 4 days because of all of the actions going on. This is kind of what happens when you're in a situation where your local currency is now at risk of being debased by a large amount. This is going to be an interesting test run, in my opinion, of what situations might be like this with countries with either hyperinflation or current currency devaluation, debasement moving forward. This is why it's important, at least now, that the on-chain blockchain DeFi space is so mature and battle tested. Because if things like this happen, crypto and digital assets are now a safe haven for people to have anti-fragile and censorship resistant money. That's the new hope, right, for what we're seeing here. So we're seeing some bids, especially with Bitcoin and ETH. Bitcoin going back up, reclaiming 73, which is frankly a huge deal. We're not really seeing any selling right now, which I think is interesting. Some people have kind of pointed out, at least what I've been seeing in my circles, that we're repeating 2022 in this specific range, just in terms of the. Let me see if I can zoom in on. Nope, not you. You. Let's see if I can zoom in here. No, I want. There we go. Some people are pointing out that this pattern right here that happened in 2022 is very similar to this pattern. Now, we never say that history repeats itself, but at least in investing, history doesn't repeat itself. It does rhyme. So are we in a situation where we're now seeing this repeat of the 2022 playbook? Honestly, I don't know. It's hard to say, right? The market is very different right now. Not only do we have people running to what could be considered inflation hedges or safe havens for debased and devalued currency. We're also in a situation where markets overall are at an interesting point because the U.S. President Trump actually declared that he is willing to send the Navy in as escorts to bring of the as much of the maritime shipping, which is normally covered by Lloyd's of London, actually through maritime insurance. He's going to provide insurance globally, specifically in this area for getting oil and natural gas, liquefied natural gas, which Qatar is one of the biggest uh, LNG fields in the world. Same with Saudi Arabia, but getting that through the Strait of Hormuz and out to the rest of the world. So very interesting to see what happens here. There's also news that possibly there is a secret offer made by Iran to end this conflict immediately. I don't know exactly where we're going with this, and shout out to Kobe Easy Letter. I'm a really big fan of what they do. There's a lot of theater, in my opinion, that's going on with what's going on here, right? Unfortunately, there's a variety of people that are just stuck here in the middle. That's kind of where we're at. Number 5 is interesting because, frankly, this could have been solved a while ago. But it all depends on whether or not Iran is willing to give up ever having a nuclear weapon. This is not a new issue, by the way. This has been going on for years, right? We're aiding into. I mean, if you know your Star Trek lore, how often do they walk into a civilization with a blood war that's gone on hundreds or thousands of years? We're literally in this exact playbook. So, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. For now, the offer is not considered serious. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, there's some issues here, and there are people inside of Iran that welcomed the attack. They wanted this government uprooted and left. The majority of people in Tehran, if I'm not mistaken, are under the age of 40. Like, they are majority younger people. So there's a new thriving think space, maybe the word is I would use here, that could really make a difference in terms of where Iran goes from here, where the balance of power goes. Uh, is it the end of the theocracy in that area where religious theses are what governs overall foreign policy? With that said, Iran isn't without its tools. They have weapons. They've already taken out a couple of very expensive assets across the Middle East that belong to the U.S. So we'll see where we go from here. It's not that there hasn't been damage on both sides. Obviously, there's been a significant amount of damage on the Iranian side. So we'll see where we go from here. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the market. Let's get back to where we are with how they are looking. Solana back up above $90 is a good sign. There seems to be why people would take profit here is just beyond me. I do think that there's obviously not financial advice. I do think that $500 Solana is still on the table. If, well, at this point, honestly, I think clarity has to pass at this point to get to that next level. Mainly because it's very clear that retail isn't going to drive markets back up to the next level. Institutions are going to do that. Now, retail may follow institutions, since institutions have front-run retail for the last 18 months to start building here, right? This is we've talked about this on the show. 2026 is the year of integration here in the show. Oh, I'm sorry, in the industry, where we went from disruption, innovation, ideation, all of that, now to actual well, implementation and now integration this year to bring TradFi into DeFi rails. So we'll see exactly where this goes. Hyperliquid's still hovering around that 32. Chainlink looking to get back above $10. That will be a very interesting pull if that happens. Canton is still floating, which is good to see at 15 cents after all the positive news they've had from institutions over the last couple of months. AVAX still shocks me that they're under $10 at this point. They've got some things to solve there, right? But Hedera is still looking good here at 10 cents. So obviously we're going to see where we go from here. Zcash also looking good at 237. We're going to see more privacy meta here. It's all reflected here in today's bubbles, right? If we look at from last week, we've had some good narratives being told here. Layer 0 still doing really well. Jupiter up 17.5 off the new vote, where they're going to indefinitely pause both buybacks as well as the annual Jupuary conference. We'll see exactly where this goes from here, but that's interesting. BitTensor up 5.2. Morpho still looking good at 3.3. JST. What are you, JST? Just. Oh, that's not what Just is for. I don't know a ton about Just. We'll do a little bit of research. But they clearly have, a larger bubble here. Near up 13% off of their annual conference, NearCon, which happened last week. Mantle still looking good at 12.5. They're up because of some great partnerships and some new liquidity coming in. And then we have good old Internet Computer. Chili's up 7%. Well, the fan space is still open. Pump is up 8.5, but we'll talk about Pump. And do I have Pump on there? No. There's River. I didn't get a chance to talk to the gentleman from River. I saw him on the floor. He was, deep in conversation, so I didn't want to step in and bother him. So, River making some interesting moves as a platform. Overall, today's bids are looking pretty interesting. There is clearly, with a lot of them, with Bitcoin being the tide that raises all ships, we're definitely seeing more of that here. Okay, let's move on to the next part of of what we're talking about today. So we already talked about this part with the war. The fact that the war has gone well, at least for the West, is well, and I guess there's been some fallout for that too, because there's been a lot of countries in the West that have condemned the actions of both Israel and the U.S. here to try and upset the axis of power in Iran, to the point where the U.S. is no longer doing business with Spain. So that's an interesting wrinkle here. Granted, I don't know what happens here, but if Canada, Spain, UK, and a couple others are frankly more concerned about Ukraine than they are about Iran. And Ukraine is still going on too. So we'll see exactly where this is going. But I do think a lot of energy is being poured into Bitcoin right now. With that said, we're still waiting on clarity. It didn't get done by March 1st. That is not good. Okay. Now, President Trump has come through and just rambled as he normally does on Truth Social by saying that the banks are hitting record profits, and we are not going to allow them to undermine our powerful crypto agenda that will end up going to China and other countries if we don't get the Clarity Act taken care of. He's got members of his cabinet that are very deep in the bank lobby. So this is what it is. So Genius Act was passed, obviously. Clarity is what's going to be there to get across the finish line. Now, here's the interesting part about that, and did I not get it? I thought I grabbed it. I must have just been in my bag, just annoyed with Jamie Dimon, who's the head of, I gotta have it around here somewhere. He's the head of J.P. Morgan, right? Um, let me grab the post. Oh yeah, we'll use the one from Lark Davis. Shout out to Lark Davis. So this is a very interesting. This is a very interesting interpretation from this man, mainly because, and we've talked about it a lot on this show. JP Morgan, voice crack, is in crypto. They have uh, their own institutional division called, it used to be called Onyx. Now it's called Connexus. It's been in development for private clients for more than almost 3 years now. They have a stable coin called JPMD that's institutional, that lives on Base and Canton Network. And he's out here saying that banks want competition, but only on a level playing field. Guys, he's the ultimate person to talk out both sides of his mouth. He was trashing Bitcoin for years and then said, the old financial system is broken. So he's kind of opening the floodgates and just giving double signals here, right? The man just wants the bottom line at the end. He doesn't think it's fair that retail users can get better yields on chain than they can with a bank. He finds that fundamentally wrong. Well, I mean, what Lark is mentioning here, to abolish fractional reserve banking and have deposits backed 1-to-1 in a vault, which they cannot do right now, just like stablecoins have to under the Genius Act. That's true. So we'll see. We'll see exactly what happens here. With that said, that's going to lead into our next topic that I wanted to talk about, and that is, thanks to Eleanor Tourette for this, but Kraken also mentioned it in their, well, I don't have that one here, but this is fine. So, Kraken has a direct line now into the Fed's payment rails, right? We can go here and because they've talked about it here. Right here. So Kraken Financial, which includes the CEX, not just it's just not Kraken the CEX. There's more. They've been granted a Federal Reserve Master Account, which makes them the first digital asset bank with direct access to the U.S. payment system. This is a big announcement. Force Optimism is going to congratulate them because Kraken Inc., their layer 2 blockchain, is an OP superchain blockchain. Now, exactly how did they get this? That's the big question, right? Because they got this access to the Fed. Now they can't actually access Fed treasuries or anything like that. They don't get lending facility access either. They just get this, what's called a skinny master account, which Fed Governor Christopher Waller has proposed. And it's a very specific implementation of the master account. This is a pilot program that's being done with Kraken. So based on how this works with Kraken, we'll see if others get this. But the question I have here is, why didn't it go to Coinbase? Why didn't it go to crypto.com? Why didn't it go to, which is obviously, really good friends with the president, right? There's a bunch of CEXs that could have gotten this, even companies like Paxos and Circle, that didn't get this. So, and the question I have is, why? Well, I think what's interesting here is really the way that they got it. Now, they're the first to get and congrats to Arjun Sethi and the rest of the team. Custodia Bank is also applied. Oh, they have litigation against the Fed since 2022. Well, no longer. No wonder they didn't get it. That would be why. Anchorage, though, which is a trust bank, they've applied as well as Ripple. Now, what's interesting about Anchorage is that they are one of the few companies that were in the Biden era were granted a money license in all 50, actually it's just in 48 states. I don't think it's in all. It might be in all 50. They're one of very few, if any, that have that license that got it in that time frame. So very interested to see where this goes. And the reason why Kraken got it is because it had uh, a very special designation thanks to the state of Wyoming. And Senator Cynthia Lummis was talking about this on Squawk Box today. They have what's called an SPDI designation, which is a special purpose depository institution, much like some of the other really blockchain focused things that Wyoming has, like the DUNA, which is the decentral digital unclassified. I don't remember exactly what it means, but DAOs with legal standing in the state of Wyoming are DUNAs. Then you have these SPDIs. Wyoming is really just kind of pushing the innovation flywheel here for a lot of companies. They also have to have full liquid custody for all of this as well. So, you can when Wyoming is backing this, you know that there should be some really good tech as well as some liquidity behind it. So that was the main driver, I think, because they had this designation. This allowed this specific move to happen. Now, the next question I have is, with the Clarity Act being the issue that it is right now, if this works out and the Clarity Act does not get signed this year, do other companies like Circle, well, Circle, Paxos, and Ripple already have their conditional OCC licenses? So it may not be a thing. Morgan Stanley is converting to from where they are to a bank that can actually be in the same realm as these guys. Do we see more teams, more people getting an SPDI and going to Wyoming to try and get into this pilot next? Possibly. Is this the bypass for those who can't get that OCC license but want to be able to get access to Fed rails? Swift is already doing that, of course, but this is a different way to get access into the system. So very curious to see not only how this moves, but moving forward, what can be built on top of it. To me, that'll be the most interesting, the most telling piece. If they can figure out a way to get Fed accounts onto a blockchain so it's immutable and much more transparent, that could also be a really good side effect of this. I'm really excited to see what happens here. So we'll see. We'll see exactly where we go from here. But again, this is huge news. This is huge news for Kraken, and more of what I want to see, rather than bureaucrats sitting on the hill just pointing fingers at each other, in a pissing contest about who gets to have yield. Because the customer does not win. Something like this, the customer has a much better chance of winning and getting more out of it. This doesn't mean that Kraken is becoming a bank or anything like that. But it gives them a lot more power to settle payments faster. And that may be, that might be the play here. Because, and Transparency Beacon uses Kraken for business accounts. Kraken has been reputationally very good for businesses when it comes to on-chain and blockchain operations. Don't really need to talk about our experience with Coinbase and Coinbase Commerce. But Kraken's been really, really easy to work with. So maybe that could be part of the roadmap for a really good experiment like this. So yeah, congrats to them and what's coming forward with Kraken. Next thing I wanted to talk about is really just about some of the big issues, some of the big talks here with regards to agents. Uh, and when I say agents, I just mean any type of agentic or mobile facing uh, applications, workflows, uh, liquidity paths, things like that. I'm not trying to put them all together, but it's easier if you just kind of figure out that, for agentic stuff, mobile is the eventual destination where everything wants to go, right? Because that's having the power of that in the palm of your hand is probably the end goal from the majority of these groups. Even groups like BitTensor, getting mobile is going to make a huge difference with regards to traction and adoption by users on the retail end. So this is a fairly big announcement. This is at Mobile World Congress. This is in Barcelona, and that just happened a couple days ago. Solana was there, and they have now opened up their Solana mobile stack, which is here on the Solana Seeker, which I have right here. Very nice hardware wallet that I have. Shout out to them though for and I think I have it here. Yeah. If you like OpenClaw, you can now run it on, and I have it here. I have it here on my phone. I installed SeekerClaw. And you have to have a Claude API code, but overall, I think it works okay. And I think my phone is completely backwards because it keeps opening the camera. I'm like, that's not what I wanted, man. Whatever. I don't even know what's going on here. Anyway, regardless, having OpenClaw on your Solana Seeker phone is actually very cool. And it works, from what I keep seeing, it works pretty well. Is it really super heavy in operations? Probably not. But if you're looking to kind of start getting into the App Store, a little bit of an underrated spot, by the way, because in the event that you have this on the Solana App Store, that makes this a much bigger announcement, because now they can get native Solana features like the Solana App Store and other things onto their phones. Samsung has a deal with Coinbase where they can Coinbase Pay is available using Samsung phones. But being able to get into the hands of like Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo, Asian markets, this could be a very big unlock for Solana in APAC with what they're doing with the Solana mobile stack. Because most of the phones that are in service in APAC are most likely Android. Let's be honest, right? So this is a very big unlock for them. Congrats to them. And yeah, I'm very interested to see what gets built on top of this, right? To me, that's the big thing. What gets built on top of all of this? All right, next big news is going to be about Magic Eden. They are going to be shutting down all NFT marketplaces that are not on Solana starting on March 9th, which is well, that's going to be Monday. CEO of Magic Eden has, this is not shocking, right? Because if we're being honest about what is the state of NFTs in this market, it's not good. It's not. There's been a lot of there's just been a lot of pivoting to other things. People are pivoting to AI. People are pivoting to prediction markets. People are pivoting to anything but NFTs. That doesn't mean that NFTs still aren't great. If you hold grails, that's one thing. But this is the telling tale. Magic Eden decided to go this route because they put out a well, if you want to call it a casino app, you can call it a casino app on Solana called Dicey. In their 60 days of testing, off of 200 users, they got $15 million in wagers, which is good for them, right? So they did the Pareto 80-20 on this, and they're like, well, now we're just going to double down on Dicey. And take away from the liquidity sucks that are most of the NFT marketplaces not on Solana, because they're not the biggest Solana market either. Tensor is, and even that could be kind of shaky. But the fact that Dicey is working out for them, they're going with the hot hand, and you can't fault them for that, because longevity in this space is very difficult. Very difficult. They had TGE and everything last year. And for them to go this route, this tells me that they are looking for cash. They're looking for ways to get sustainability, and they want to keep moving on, as long as they can. So runes and ordinals on Bitcoin are now gone as of March 9th. EVM marketplace is on March 9th. And, Bitcoin API is on March 27th. And the wallet, in the wallet, they're actually going to be winding down support on April 1st. That's actually very interesting. I mean, I have the wallet. I don't use the wallet very often, but it was a good wallet for NFTs. There are other wallets like Phantom and Soulflare and Jupiter that I think are just to have more users. And Magic Eden doesn't have much of that share. So this is all about going with the hot hand, trying to remove their loss leaders, and moving forward. And there's the 80-20 rule. And sometimes you just have to flip the narrative, especially one that gets you. I mean, that's an immense amount of money from 200 users in a closed beta. Imagine if they had it out in the open, how much more money they could make. This could be what brings Magic Eden back, right? So if you happen to have any Magic Eden products that are not on Solana, just know that, and you have about 5 days to get that figured out. Speaking of agents, one of the big things that agents are a big part of right now is prediction markets. Let's talk about this part first. This is Kui Sheffield. He's head of crypto at Visa. And the lobster clause here should tell you everything you need to know about the fact that even a brand like Visa is interested in agentic commerce. They have partnered with Stripe here to bring bridge stablecoins to over 100 countries. This is big. This is very big. Big for Stripe. This is big for Visa. Who do we talk about? Jupiter has a Visa deal. Visa is really starting to take stablecoins to the next level. I'm sure MasterCard will have their deals, but this is a really big signal. Nothing less than Patrick Collison, one of the guy who kind of disrupted e-commerce, period, almost 12, 15 years ago now, by being able to make it so any website can have commerce and take credit card payments and any type of e-commerce on their site with 7 lines of code. When they bought Bridge, this 2024, late 2024, it was a huge investment into the on-chain and blockchain economy. Them working with Visa is really this point here. Why be fiat versus crypto? Like Jamie Dimon and all of those a-holes at banks. And I say that nicely. I have family who works in banks. Friends and family who work in banks. But make it so that it's fiat working with crypto instead of fiat working against crypto, right? So this is going to put stable coins and other digital assets into the palm of millions of users across the globe. We've seen multiple demos. I have some content I have to put out with Exodus and their Exodus Pay, also a digital wallet system very similar. You get a Visa card, a digital Visa card using it's Solana Rails specifically for Exodus Pay. But yeah, the future is going to be more of this type of stuff. I always like to, it's just more of an interesting thing when I go to the store and I see people paying what are they paying with, right? We went from people writing checks and having cash to now people swiping their cards to now people just taking their card and laying it on top of the terminal for tap to pay in a very short amount of time, in my opinion. Probably took way longer than it needed to, but we're now here to the point where NFC payments, tap to pay, is the norm. And I love seeing the different types of cards that people have, whether it's from a local credit union, whether it's from a prepaid Visa card, even things like EBT all have tap to pay now, uh, depending on where you're at. So the notion that it needs to be fiat versus crypto, I think, is way overblown and a really short sighted way to think about it, in my opinion. That shouldn't be the way that you think about it. So, this is a big deal. Oh, PayDAO. This PayDAO is a huge Agentic X402 provider on Solana. So we'll see. We'll see where this all goes. I'm excited. Like I mentioned, I like seeing when people have fun little cards that they pay with, and you're definitely going to get these with smaller companies and smaller dApps, with more rewards programs, right? That's the other part that makes stablecoins on chain more interesting, is that you can easily earn on your stablecoins just holding them in DeFi than you ever will in a bank. That's another reason why the banks are afraid. So, prediction markets, another big needle mover. Not only can you do predictions on the weather, on real estate, on sports, on politics, on culture, on whether or not Jesus is coming back in 2026, you can now get prediction markets backing the price movements of watches, which are also RWAs. There are multiple groups who are trying to tokenize watches, whether it be, like a Rolex, Cartier, Omega, Richard Mille, these different companies that are out there. Love it. Unfortunately, there were some startups that were looking to do this, and I think this kind of cooks them. Not this specifically, but um, there's a lot of movement to bring all of this around. Now, what a lot of people may not realize is that even though we talk about prediction markets, a lot of people think of them as not crypto. They technically are, because there's a lot of smart contracts and blockchain rails that back a lot of these prediction markets. Now, Kalshi and Poly Market are the biggest that are out there, but there's also things like Myriad Markets on Abstract. There's Limitless on Base. There is Opinion. There's at least 3 to 6 more that are in the market starting to gain traction. So while we're seeing this on Kalshi and Poly Market, that's not necessarily going to be. I mean, they've got the most money right now, right? They've got the billion-dollar partnerships with Wall Street, with Google, with Web2. But don't count out the little guys, because it's interesting to see where this is going to move. Again, not necessarily this stuff, but what's going to be built on top of it. That's another part that's very unique, and I'm very excited to see. From an agentic standpoint, we're seeing things with this type of stuff because agents can involve themselves into prediction markets. Uh, they can pay themselves. That's another part of this here. There's Visa Intelligent Commerce. I didn't even talk about that part. Your agents are about to get their own agentic cards. It's through CrossMint. Shout out to Joyce, who was on our show not that long ago, who works there. And now we have the security piece. So this is a very interesting announcement. Mainly because we went from security firms, really great security firms, right? We've got groups like Cantina, Otter, a variety that are out there, right? Halborn, Certic, um, Code Arena. Well, it's not Code Arena anymore. Open Zeppelin, Trail of Bits, ABDK. There's a whole bunch that are out there. It's not cheap to use them. Having stuff like this, like groups from smaller groups like Pashoff, could be disruptive. Could be. Because if we're gonna be, being nitpicky, with all of the great security groups that are out there and doing audits, we're still seeing protocols get hit, right? Pardon me. We're still seeing protocols get hit. It's not cheap to engage with security firms. You are looking at a six-figure deal most times, with a lot of, constant monitoring, getting the right smart contract audits. If companies can use agents like this, available in a minute, with fully autonomous open source, I am very curious to see how this disrupts the security industry. Because granted, you need someone who can actually debug and read all this. This isn't just your agent going out and replacing your security team by any stretch of the imagination. But it makes it a lot easier to question the prices that smaller groups have to pay to get good security in this space. And I'm being very honest with that take. The majority of money that comes out with a protocol goes to security these days and marketing. Because users want to make sure that you are secure before they put their liquidity into you. With good reason, in my opinion, right? It's only a matter of time before we get a WASM or WASM, what are their language? Cairo, Web, we already said WASM, so WebAssembly, but maybe pure Rust, Move, all of those types of smart contract languages will soon get something like this. And then it'll be a race to the bottom in terms of fees as security firms start to try and figure out how they can lessen the damage of this. Because you have an agent that runs 24/7, probably with much better turnaround time, being able to train itself on databases like Rect and others that are out there with specific threat vectors and models, and possibly using itself to self-heal and model for new threat agents, right? That is the future of what we're looking at here. Not that AI is meaning to take jobs away. It just makes it so that more humans don't have to do as much of the grunt work and you get results faster. That's where the speed and productivity gains here become such a valuable part. And frankly, that's probably where we're going to get the next batch of money. It's like, hey, we're going to charge you this much, but you're going to get this, 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 and this because of the speed and productivity gains. You're going to get them, but you're going to have to pay for them. Capitalism, am I right? So, very important announcement from them at Pashoff. So we'll see where this goes. I'm excited to see where it goes, and we'll see where we go from here. Last thing I'll talk about today is going to be the Aave DAO situation. So Aave Labs and Aave DAO are kind of at odds here, because the majority of the contributors to Aave Labs, or at least to the Aave product, is through the DAO. You had, I think, GDB, my fault if I get that wrong, and then you have ACI, Mark Zeller. I mean, this guy, to me, I didn't realize he didn't work for Aave for a long time. Yeah, BGD, sorry. And we're seeing a changing culture at Aave, right? It's a very pivotal time. One of the biggest things that's going on for Aave right now is them moving to this newer model with hub and spoke, with V4, and also the ability for them to have a very good mobile app. right? We've talked about it here on the show before. App.ave, no, it's ave.com/app, right? This is going to be a game changer because they're the biggest one to do it. Shout outs to our friends at Axel and other groups that are doing mobile first digital savings accounts. The fact that they're willing to give you boosts here and up to $1 million, which is higher than the FDIC 250, is a big game changer. Do I want to stick with FDIC or primarily FDIC? For 250K guaranteed for like less than 1% on a savings account? Or do I want to go with a minimum 5% up to 9 with $1 million, protected? Most people are going to go for this, right? You would think. Aave has more assets under management than, they're in the top, 40 almost, of actual North American banks by volume. They have the customers. They have the results. This is a very interesting time for them. And two of the biggest people who were building are leaving due to issues, due to differences in culture. Frankly, I don't know if the DAO really helps Aave at this point after this. With that said, DAOs are still a big part of how apps should run. There haven't been a ton of apps that have been able to use DAOs effectively to use their governance. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen because Arbitrum DAO but that's a blockchain DAO, right? This is an app DAO. They've been able to keep it together for a while, right? You can also look at Uniswap Labs and Uniswap Foundation with that battle and how all of that gets put together. This is a very pivotal point for Aave in their growth period. If they need to lose major contributors and bring in new ones to get to that next level so that Labs has more sway than DAO, I think it's going to happen. Based on the temp check that Stani Kulichov put out like over the weekend, it's more than 50% voted for Labs. So it's hard. This is a tough situation because, BGD built so much of Aave 3. Aave Chan Initiative also, is a huge part of this. Them walking away is sad. Don't get me wrong. This is a tough one. But for anyone who wants Aave to truly win, this is your chance to step in and build and be a part of the next part of Aave. I know there's politics. I know there's culture that is disrupted by all of this. But for those who are, bitching and moaning about how this is terrible, step up if you have the skills or know someone who has the skills to bring Aave to that next level. Those guys, BGD and ACI, huge part of what brought Aave here. They've decided not to go on the next part of the journey. This is the moment where other people within the DAO can step up and take that mantle and keep moving forward. Sadly, in the software world, we're all replaceable, right? Look at what people are freaking out about with AI and coding. That doesn't mean there aren't good builders and good developers that can step in to make things better. And I hope that someone takes the challenge of both BGD and ACI leaving the Aave DAO to come in, put their money where their mouth is, and try and move mountains. I think that's the best thing that people who believe in Aave can do for the community. And I hope it happens. I really do. So we'll see. Aave price is down off of this. Let's look. Yeah, the news for Aave was not good. Yeah, down to 116. I mean, I was in, I bought Aave here in this part. I was part of this. uh, I still think we can get back here. I really do. Aave is one of those Lindy apps at the cornerstone of what makes sense. And this is the reason why. For most people, they see all this stuff with like privacy and things like blobs and PeerDAWs and light clients, and they're like, but they can look at Aave as a savings and loan facility, an automated money market, and go, oh, well, that makes sense. That's how it worked for me when I first got in this space, way back when. We need groups like Aave to lead the way, right? Because people will believe in Lindy projects, but it's a very simple mechanism that most people can relate to. You can walk into, I mean, there's no brick and mortar Aave offices, but you can sign up for an account with Aave, self-custodied, no loan officers, no credit checks, take out loans against collateral you already own. Very simple premise. You don't have to sit there and wait for underwriters to say if you are good or not. You just go and you take you take your loan, you farm, get better, pay off your loan, and can profit. That's the beauty of the model for lending AMMs here. It's a great way to park your assets and get them working passively for you. Way better than what you'll ever get in your bank. And that's the truth. We'll see where this goes, but I'm excited to see where we go from here. Last thing I'll talk about is at ETH Denver. You can see I'm right here in the middle. Shout out to On-Chain Media welcoming me into their creator program. One of the first who were brought in. Surrounded by a lot of really great creators here in this space. Shout out to Rachel On-Chain, the queen herself, for welcoming me. Had a great time at the Creator Mixer. Didn't get to stay long enough because of some other things that came up, but really excited to meet a lot of people within the OCM family. Different OCM, not On-Chain Monkeys. Shout out to them too. But they are doing just check them out, On-Chain Media. They are actually doing well, if you want to be a content creator within the Creator program, you can also do so. Be like this guy right here in the middle. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to making content with On-Chain Media, and excited to be a part of the a central part, quite literally, of the Creator program. Whoever made this, you should have put Rachel in here too. I mean, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here amongst all these great creators, and very, very honored, very humbled to be here in the middle. So, shout out to all the people in On-Chain Media, all of the fellow creators in the Creator program who are already there, and the others who will be joining soon. Good luck and put your best foot forward, and let's go change the world. If you like what you're hearing today, feel free to check out the mothership, Total Value Lock. This is our free group from Beacon DeFi. If you want to learn more about decentralized finance, how to make your digital assets work for you, get there easily for free. School.com/beacon. School.com/beacon. I would recommend you check out the Start Here post. You'll get a message from myself and our CEO, Andrew. And you can also learn about all of our offers. We do have a lot of free content, but if you're looking to get your first dollar in DeFi within the first 48 hours, or if you're looking for one-on-one mentorship from myself, other members of the team, you can join the Beacon Mastermind. Shout out to our Beacon Mastermind founding members, our Beacon Mastermind current members of our mastermind. Best of the best. Just love everything that you guys are part of with us. You guys help make this possible. And of course, to our Beacon Spotlight and Beacon Challengers, thanks to you as well for making all this possible. Again, you want to learn more about how being a DeFi native works, or if you're curious about getting there, send them over to our site, school.com/beacon. I don't have a banner for them too, but Awaken.tax is one of our partners. Let me put up, let me, let me show some love to Andrew and the team at Awaken. This is the time of the year where you should be considering how you're going to do your taxes, right? April 15th is the time in the US. Awaken actually has support for 40 countries now. Talk regularly to Andrew, who's the CEO of Awaken, very hard worker. This is crypto tax software for crypto natives by crypto natives, uh, mainly because he didn't like what was being put out there. Small team at Awaken. He's really the center of how a lot of the code works. Uh, Pro tip: you need a good portfolio manager. Use Awaken. Use Awaken because you have to upload all your wallets. So if you want to know the best way, because there really isn't one platform that does all of your wallets well, Awaken does. So that's a wow, $99 off if you switch to Awaken in minutes. You can use our code Beacon DeFi to get 25% off. That helps us out too. So check out Awaken, awaken.tax if you're looking to do your crypto taxes. Shout out to Andrew and the team at Awaken. Always been a big fan. Remember, we started recommending them 2 years ago for taxes. Uh, they're just a better product over a lot of the competitors that I've used personally. So that's a personal recommendation for me. Obviously, not financial advice. Do your own research. But if you're looking for help getting your tax report ready for the IRS, especially this year with the new 1099 DA rules, Andrew's got a great guide for that. Check that out. Awaken.tax. Proud to have them in our network of alliance partners for content here at Beacon. So shout out to them for all the support they bring to us. And that's it for me, guys. We'll have a great panel going on next week. Again, I wasn't expecting to do the show today because we had some family things going on, but we've decided to make a different decision. And at some point, that probably will be something we do. Uh, pets, having a pet is one of the most personal and emotional and difficult things, right? Because they become a part of us. Our oldest cat in particular, uh, I don't know if she just tags me as her person, but whenever I'm nearby, she purrs and she licks my forehead, and the ultimate sign of trust. And I'm going to miss her very dearly. For 14 years, she and her brother, who we lost 18 months ago, have been a really big part of not just my life, but my wife's life and our three daughters' lives. And they're going to take this really difficult. I mean, we've known she has feline oral cancer, and that's difficult. Thankfully, it's not something worse. Obviously, all cancer is terrible, but wasn't going to be today. So most likely, by the time we do this show next week, she won't be with us anymore. But hug your pets, hold them close. They're all family members, and big reason of what brings us happiness in our lives, right? So with that said, you'll be seeing me on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, for Beat the Banks. That's our community training that we do every week, where we talk about just concepts, right? So if you know somebody who doesn't really know a lot about crypto, or is curious about what can on-chain finance do for them with regards to blockchains, ecosystems, wallets, we cover that, and security, of course. Security is a huge part of what we do. Check out last week's episode. We talked about the all-weather portfolio, especially with a time like now, when we were going at that time we were imminently going into a military conflict with a foreign entity, and that could shock the markets. It could still shock the markets, right? Right now, the price of oil is kind of interesting, and if you know your way around DeFi, you can go somewhere like Hyperliquid, where they have on markets.xyz a futures called US oil to speculate on for if you're looking for that type of exposure. There's a lot of these things that are available in DeFi that you won't find in centralized finance. You will in some spots, but you'll learn more. School.com/beacon. Anyway, we'll see you then. Have a great day. And yeah, take care of yourself. Stay safe out there. Don't take too much leverage. We'll see you next time. We'll see you on Friday. As we say here on the show, beacons up, banks down. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.